feels like the changing seasons, and I don't mind it here now, baby. I don't mind it here, but it feels like home when we talk. Like there's nowhere left to run. Put my mind at ease, babe, when there's nowhere else to go. And watching the trees swaying, I can't help but think that there is more than one way to live now, baby. More than everything I've known. It's like I've known you forever, like you're not too far from home. Put on everything to please me when there's nowhere else to go. I sit alone now, babe. I can't seem to find something to do. I just wanna see you, baby. Don't need anything to do, but I can't seem to hold on to you, baby. Be the man I wanna be. Ask for more time from you, but you got nothing else to give. But you got nothing else to give. That one's called Nowhere Else to Go. Thank you. Nowhere Else to Go. Kind of thinking a lot. I love this band, Wilco. I don't know if there are any Wilco fans in the house, but definitely inspired a lot of my playing. Jeff Tweedy's kind of sound, and yeah, I like to tap into that. This next one's similar to that. Wrote it when I first moved to the city. It's called Come Along. Born out of struggle, born out of pain. Come into this world, there ain't no other way. Don't know how we'll make it to the city. Try your very best, try to pass it along. Give it all you got, but it's already gone. Don't know how we're gonna last in the city. It goes by and by. Just tell me not to cry. Come along on the merry-go-round, we'll ride till the systems go down, but we won't sleep until everyone's laughing, laid in the grass, watching the stars passing along. I can't stand it sometimes, it's true, but at least I have you, and we won't sleep until everyone's laughing, telling ourselves that it's all meant to happen now. Walking down the street, keep my eyes looking down, waiting for the change to come around. There's no way we keep getting so lucky. I'm so turned around, can't even open my eyes. Any other day would have met my demise. There's no way we keep getting so lucky. It goes by and by. Just tell me not to cry. Come along on the merry-go-round, we'll ride till the systems go down, but we won't sleep until everyone's laughing, laid in the grass, watching the stars passing along. I can't stand it, sometimes it's true, but at least I have you, and we won't sleep until everyone's laughing, telling ourselves that it's all meant to happen now. Come along on the merry-go-round, we'll ride till the systems go down, but we won't sleep until everyone's laughing, laid in the grass, watching the stars passing along. I can't stand it, sometimes it's true, but at least I have you, and we won't sleep until everyone's laughing, telling ourselves that it's all meant to happen now. Backing vocals here, amazing, loving it. You want to keep going?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I got some more songs. So this is a little different. I'm actually releasing this song as a single in like a month. I believe June 27th is what we're looking at. I have had this song, written this song. I've had it written for like a year. And I finally kind of decided to produce it with people who knew what they were doing in a studio, although it was also in a house. But it was really fun. It's these guys up in kind of White Plains area. Sunday Dinner is the name of their kind of duo. And it was really fun. So this song is about a breakup and not needing to stay friends. What's funny is I'm on great terms with my exes, but this is just this song was written in a different space, I think. But get my day started trying to write a song that you never heard. Start my day trying to paint a picture worth more than 1,000 words. When you live like this, can't sleep it off, and you wish you could. Set the clocks forward, just sing along. But I can't help you. Loving me won't do you any good. You're so selfish. Wouldn't help you even if I could. 'Cause I don't wanna take your shit no more. You won't find me crying on the bathroom floor. Never tried to live like this before. So baby, I don't need to know you anymore. you don't know, baby, that you represent all that I hate about. Trying to get your image out my brain is not proving easy. Yeah, tell me why fucking up my life is so hard to unsee. Oh, never got to thank you for the insecurities, but I can't help you. Loving me won't do you any good. You're so selfish, wouldn't help you even if I could. 'Cause I don't wanna take your shit no more. You won't find me crying on the bathroom floor. Never tried to live like this before, but baby, I don't need to know you. 'Cause I don't wanna take your shit no more. You won't find me crying on the bathroom floor. Never tried to live like this before, but baby, I don't need to know you anymore. I don't wanna take your shit no more. You won't find me crying on the bathroom floor. Never tried to live like this before. Baby, I don't need to know you. 'Cause I don't wanna take your shit no more. You won't find me crying on the bathroom floor. Never tried to live like this before. Baby, I don't, baby, I don't, baby, I don't. I don't need to know you. I don't need to know you anymore.
Yeah, that one's a lot of fun. It's also very high in my range. Actually, it's great that there are no children present, because it is not a super clean song. So that's kind of clutch. Awesome. I'm gonna keep it going. I'm feeling the good vibes. It's a beautiful day outside. This one is very low here. I just wrote this. It's definitely a little hairy, but the song's kind of about nothing and everything at the same time.
Fixing all the time passed between us doesn't mean a thing. Now I'm thinking that the time doesn't add up to anything. 'Cause when you're living large, it's not hard, make your heart small. When you keep your feelings to yourself, you don't have feelings at all. Learning how to build a rocket ship and how to host a dinner party. Cook a chicken, make a stock, paper crane and origami. Spending all my time becoming an expert of everything, just to think a little less about the time I should have called your name. I've never gone. I wanna know if loving you is really wrong. But I'm been here all along. Where the fuck is my phone? So I can take a photo of this song. I've never gone. I wanna know, oh, if loving you is really wrong. Let's put on a show. Oh, the crowd's been here all along. Where the fuck is my phone? Have it make a photo of this song.
Thanks. I dig that. The emotion was like at this point. It was perfect. Obviously, yeah. Okay, so I got one more. Got another tune. First of all, thank you so much for having me. This is amazing just to be able to play. And I was just explaining to Topher, it's like playing out in the open air is so great in the city. Like you play in a room all the time, or like in a practice room, or in a very dark. I mean, I love playing in a dark kind of club. That's also fun. But really getting a chance to play outside that is in a kind of controlled environment like this, or not just like in a park. Especially like these are the best weeks, as you're saying, weather-wise. So, having a blast. This next one is, this one I wrote maybe like maybe a month and a half ago. I went on a trip in between now and then. I went to Spain and like released it actually in between that. But this is just I feel like I don't write songs about people or specific events. They are in reference to that, but really they come from all kinds of places. And lyrics that I write can be very general. Like I listen to them and I find totally new meanings. And I've written some songs and I play them, and now when I play them I think of totally different things. Songs kind of have a life of their own outside of what the artist intended. Like that's why it's kind of even we listen to artists that kind of are annoying, like, to engage perhaps with like Kanye on a personal level might not be the most pleasant, experience, but like his songs just speak for so much more, and it's so much more than the individual. This one specifically, there's some other songs I've played, and I don't like playing them anymore, even though there's nothing really about the song that's bad. I just don't like the tone or the kind of things that it makes me think of when I play it, and music is so subjective in that kind of perspective, but I've always been centered around the song and less of like the musical moment or the album or like the jam. So when that happens, like when the tone of a song changes, it's really can be a big deal. I really don't play it. That being said, this next one is a song that I wrote that has like a kind of evolving meaning, I would say, but it's pretty fun no matter what. So it's called Rosemary. Make sure, actually, I don't want to be tip-top here. Yeah, this is the best song of the set. The tuning song.
Everyone I know, it seems I'm tearing apart the next time we meet again. All I see when I look at my hand are terrible cards, all that I'm left with. When I first met you, you were a breath of fresh air, blue eyes, blonde hair. There's nothing I wouldn't do just to stay close to you. Oh, Rosemary, you don't know what you're doing to me. Always telling me how to be. I would leave, but don't know how to be free from you, baby. Oh, Rosemary, all I ever wanted to see. For everything between you and me, to go back the way it used to be. Back the way it used to be. I would let you change me, fix and rearrange me as long as I stayed there. But it's time I told you I'm losing control and I'm choosing my soul. Rosemary, don't know what you're doing to me, always telling me how to be. I would leave but don't know how to be free from you, baby. Oh, Rosemary, all I ever wanted to see. For everything between you and me, to go back the way it used to be. Back the way it used to be. To me, always telling me how to be. Leave but don't know how to be free from you, baby. Oh, Rosemary, all I ever wanted to see. For everything between you and me, to go back the way it used to be. 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 Don't know what you're doing to me, always telling me how to be. I would leave but don't know how to be free from you, baby. Oh, Rosemary, all I ever wanted to see. For everything between you and me, back the way it used to be. 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 Back the way it used to be.
Awesome. That's all I got. that's all I got. That was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Right on.
Cool.
Homeward Sounds.
Hello.
Great to have another episode. How do you pronounce your last name? It's Julian Tamers?
Tamers, yeah.
Cool.
Tamers.
Just how it's spelled?
Yeah, it's like a, it's not, I think it was originally Tamres is the origin of the name. It's like a Polish, Romanian, Ashkenazi type of name, but when my ancestors emigrated to the United States, they changed it for ease or some clerical error, and that's my identity now.
Similar. Yeah, that's
What's your last name?
It's Klishevsky, but
Klishevsky.
At some point, I think it was spelled very differently than it is now.
Yeah,
and then on the way in, switching
to
like,
brown. It doesn't work with us. Not so much.
So where are you coming from? Where are you from?
So I am from North Carolina, from Chapel Hill, which is right by UNC. Went to school in D.C. and then made my way up to New York, so kind of been traversing up. But yeah, definitely I grew up in like a kind of what I would say suburban kind of background, but definitely close to university. And the Triangle in North Carolina is amazing. It's like this kind of cultural hub with 3 universities like Duke, NC State, UNC. So grew up listening to a lot of that, and exposed to a lot of music. Yeah. My dad really into all kinds of music. He's an artist.
Sweet.
And he's
also
also
like a painter, or
he's a visual artist. His like occupation is in wine. Actually, my parents really have a background in food and wine. But he was an artist, always listening to like jazz, opera, like classical in the house for sure. A lot of like Thelonious Monk, a lot of like Mahler, all kinds of like crazy names. And then my mom loves like Pearl Jam, 10,000 Maniacs, so like a lot
Nice.
of kind of like
Meeting in the middle.
yeah,
Perfectly.
like 90s type of grunge and stuff too, and acoustic singer-songwriter stuff. Yeah, so I kind of grew up with those influences, I guess, musically.
Right.
I can keep going.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So when you so obviously you know, I definitely hear a lot of like the singer-songwriter stuff in your music.
Yeah.
So like when you're growing up, you were listening to a lot of like the jazz and classical kind of stuff. Do you think that still like has some or has had some sort of influence as well? I guess at least subconsciously.
Absolutely. Subconsciously and consciously. So when I started playing guitar when I was 7, I hated taking swimming lessons, and so I told my mom that if I could finish swimming lessons, I would, like, could I learn the guitar? And so I started on electric, actually.
Oh, nice.
Really loved, like, AC/DC. That was one of the first bands I
Right.
fell in love with, and the Beatles. Those were, like, the two when I started out, and started playing more classic rock, started playing some, like, pop rock stuff in high school and middle school type of stuff. But once I got a little through high school and then really into college was like jazz all the way. I played a lot of jazz. I played in like quartets, played in a big band. I would do stuff in DC around all
Cool.
kinds of like government events. And
And at this point, were you only playing electric guitar, or
I was
were
only
you dabbling with acoustic?
yeah.
guitar?
I had played. I had an acoustic guitar. Maybe a couple years into me learning guitar, but most of what I do is still on electric.
Right. Huh.
I like to have the acoustic guitar as a timbral thing, and especially when I'm by myself, it just makes a
Right.
lot more sense. Even though I love playing by myself with an electric, but you know, it's kind of like the harmonic kind of overtones and the fullness of the sound that you get from an acoustic guitar when mic'd properly, and like, you know, when you compare them side by side, it's just so clear. Like the acoustics are just to me really help out to create the energies that I want to, and the
Right.
dynamics are a lot easier to tap into on an acoustic. You can get very, very quiet, very loud.
Right,
So I
right.
use it more as like a kind of tool when I'm playing alone, but generally, like in my music, I play mostly
Huh.
electric guitar.
Interesting. Like I had listened to a lot of your music just recently, and like I definitely hear you on electric a lot. But it's interesting to hear you say that you're predominantly electric, because like your
Yeah.
set now, it just seems to like the untrained eye,
very-
so to
no,
speak.
it's very
like a
acoustic.
new listener. It's like, oh, this is just seemed so right.
Yeah.
Like seemed so natural that.
Yeah. So to kind of address that, I don't think about it a ton, but I will say, like, I think a lot differently about ways that I present myself either in recorded music or like non-live settings, and then also live music. And obviously, like the stuff I have on Spotify right now is like an acoustic song with
Right.
you know, acoustic bass and stuff too.
Right,
but,
which is awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
That
it was
really cool. Really cool.
she's an amazing player. I got the fortune of playing with.
What's her name?
Karen Chapdelaine. Yeah,
Very
you should definitely
cool.
check her out.
Shout
She's
out.
like unbelievable. Yeah, and I'm sure you can hear like the jazz background in
Yeah,
that. She's a
totally.
jazz bassist through and through, and a lot of the chords I was playing with like lent themselves well to that kind of style. But yeah, no. So when I think about my recorded sound, at least what I'm trying to do now, it's easier for me on the other end to actually have something that creates less sonic space. So like
The
when I
electric,
want
you mean?
yeah, the electric, because like you can play a couple of notes and really not take up very much space in a track. And so
Right.
I'm like when I'm recording, I think a lot more about production and that kind of thing. But when I'm live, it's really fun to play with those. And yeah, I mean, I love, like, I've been listening to all kinds of stuff that's acoustic recently. I've definitely been listening to a lot of like Tom Petty, even Dave Matthews Band recently, and yeah, people who just really fill up a room with an acoustic
Yeah.
guitar. So
It's interesting to think about different guitar players and like where it fits in. Like you said, you can play one note in electric and have it be like really fits into its lane. And as you learn more about like mixing and whatnot and that kind of stuff and like arrange your own stuff, it's definitely gives you a whole new perspective on that. And it sort of also lends you at times to like give things a bit more space.
Yeah,
As opposed
of
to,
course.
you know, I know me when I started playing guitar, it was just like wanting to just mindlessly noodle and just
Yeah.
uselessly, but then it gets to a point where it's almost like less is more. It's like the space between the notes kind of thing, like really just like letting it sit.
This is a fascinating discussion, because I started this mindset when I started playing in big band, and like the first thing that you encounter when you're in a big band as a guitarist is that you're playing with a piano player and you're both trying to play chords at the same time. And so like all of the voicings that you learn as a rock guitarist, which are like play all 6 strings, make as much noise
Sure.
as possible, which is amazing. Again, for a live setting, it's very different. But once you get on a record, or for me, it was like in a jazz setting, it was like play so much less, like play way, way less
Right.
than what you're doing. Even now, when I went and recorded Don't Need to Know You, which is the single coming out, that, like, when I laid down those tracks, my producers were like, respectfully, let's try something a little more sparse and, like, you know, try to leave space for other instruments. And then all of a sudden, like, you just play a couple hits. You can create a large voicing by multi-tracking instead. So you're like, okay,
Right.
I'll play, this is kind of, like, technical, but, like, instead of just playing root, fifth, third, everything in one thing, you know, you split it up. And then you can create really crunchy harmony, too, because you have, like, second and thirds kind of clashing against each other. But you create space in different ways.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of value in, like, perfectly recorded band albums, but I just got more and more interested, and especially as a solo artist, like, I've just struggled to find, you know, players who can commit to, like, band rehearsal. You know, it's just
Sure.
for me, and also for, like, musical vision. I mean, I just feel like there's so many different things I want to do because we live in such a diverse musical world. Like, there's
Absolutely.
a lot of different things. So I find a lot of freedom in being a solo artist and exploring that. But
So right now, are you like the stuff you just played today? Like seemed a bit more acoustic. Like are those songs like truly acoustic, or did you like adapt some of them from a more electric context?
yeah, so a lot of them start on acoustic. I guess, like, when I think about it, I do write quite a bit on acoustic guitar, or I write thinking about acoustic guitar.
It
Some of
seems
these,
like
yeah.
it makes sense, you know, like just
Yeah.
being able to strum all the 6 strings. It just seems like compositionally to.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, like, start with the piano, and then, you know, I mean, people who are, like, producers, you know, lay down an idea on the piano and then they go kind of record stuff. But for some of these, I don't know how I'm going to get them into a record setting because they are very acoustic sounding. And then other ones I didn't play because they really lend themselves better to being electric or being,
Right.
like, in more of a kind of band produced setting. Don't Need to Know You started out, I wrote it on acoustic, and then I took ideas that we played in the studio and adapted them to the live version. So, like, there's kind of a communication there. But yeah, I mean, they sound a lot. Some of them I've adapted the other way, but a lot of them do start on acoustic for sure.
Interesting to think about. You know, you'd said, well, in this context, you had said like songs have a life of their own, and like that can go in a bunch of different ways. And like I'll say it in a context just now, in different from what you had mentioned before, I think, but in the sense that like you can write a song in one context with regards to, you know, like the composition, and then as it goes forth, and maybe you like write it solo and then start collaborating with other people, and it becomes something else.
Yeah.
So in that way, like the lifespan of a song is super interesting.
It's fascinating. I mean, definitely the headspace that I was in when I wrote that song is completely different than I was
Right.
when I recorded it a year later. And then I think I was initially very afraid of it, but now, like, I think compromise, collaboration are, like, hugely important parts of making music. And I was obsessed for a while of like learning how to mix, master, and like record literally everything I did. And there are great records that people have done that. I think of, like, I don't know if he masters this stuff, but Sufjan Stevens for sure, like, does things very much top down. Prince produced his first couple records, and but then you also think of, like, Prince didn't even play the guitar part, or like didn't compose the rhythm guitar part of Purple Rain, which is like the most iconic in a way part of that song.
Right.
Or then you think of a lot of Stevie Wonder stuff, or, you know, some of the Quincy Jones stuff, how he's added in the conversation. So collaboration is huge, and it's
Yeah.
very, very tough because you want to do everything and you want to gain credit. You just want to have credit for all the work that you've done. But yeah, relinquishing that is key.
It's so like cliche about like, you know, like go fast by yourself, far with others. Like it's probably
Yeah.
on like a fridge somewhere on a magnet, but it's true in the sense that like you both come to the table with something, you know, like you can only do one thing and they can do one other thing, and you create something that neither of you guys could create alone.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like such a cool concept, and like in a sense you got to surrender to that. Like if you
Absolutely.
are co-writing or whatever, you got to surrender for one, and first and foremost like your ego of
Yeah.
like, you know, I don't want to like own this idea, I'm cool with it going this way, and it just super open-minded, like vulnerable, you know, just going any which way in terms of collaboration.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think some people make music just for themselves, which is great, and I totally support that. But I do think like communication is a key important part of music for me. Whether that's with other musicians to create something greater than the sum of its parts, or like for me, I find it's very important to play music, have other people listen to it, and you know that I do make music for other people in a way, because connecting with people and having something that is catchy is an incredible feeling. Like I like writing catchy music. It's not that, you know, that's the stuff I would prefer to do. Even if you let me, you know, closed me in a room and made me make music, I wouldn't just make music for myself, I feel. So, yeah.
One thing I found extremely interesting lately that sort of is in line with what we've been talking about. I stumbled on this book recently, David Byrne, his book, How Music Works.
Cool, I almost read that, but I didn't.
You just read it? Or
I almost did. I need to read it. I almost started it. So no.
It's sitting right there. I read the cover a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I've only read like the first, like, you know, however, you know, eighth or whatever.
Yeah.
But even right away, it was really interesting when he talks about the context of music, and he talks about like the development of Western music he goes back like really far, but just as far as I can remember, it's like in like classical settings, they were composing these pieces that they couldn't really use a lot of like weird harmonies within the instrumentation because of like these such large spaces in which they were deliberately composing with them. So like they'd be composing them for these large opera halls, and with that in mind, they're like, all right, these reverberations are gonna like linger, so we can't really it creates certain limitations. Whereas then you move forward, and now you've got, even he talks about like the advent of the microphone, and how like in this one Frank Sinatra thing we were watching, it was like Frank was like a shit singer in his own words, and then like the advent of the microphone, it just opened this whole entire thing, this whole new world. So it's interesting to think about context. And when you say like even something as seemingly trivial as, you know, being outside versus being in your room, it's so interesting to think about how the context is huge. Like playing acoustic guitar on your bed by yourself, it will like pull certain strings, and just as, you know, playing like an electric guitar with like a band, it's pulling completely different things. Maybe even pick up one guitar and it pulls something else than another. So like, have you noticed that? And like, if so, have you like tried to work with it all? How does that sort of been?
There's so many things I find interesting about that, and it's funny how connected it is. But context is huge, and I like to think of just as many contexts as I can. Like I took voice lessons for a while with an operatic soprano, who basically taught me more about acoustic singing than anything else. And like the microphone is fascinating, and I feel like I'm still figuring. I mean, I started singing like in college, so I haven't been singing for as long as I've been playing guitar for sure. But for me, it was just kind of an essential part of the song that I was like, I need to do this all the time for some reason. But so it was. But for me, like singing acoustically is fascinating. What colors that brings of like great acoustic singers and what timbres they can make, and then thinking about, I mean, most of music that I've made has been in my room, like, you know, whether it's just been with an amp playing. And when I was for most of how I've been playing, I mean, I didn't even really learn a lot of like full songs and stuff. My parents were always just like supportive but confused a little bit, because I would just very rarely like learn whole songs. And just now, like, I feel like being in the city playing like bars and stuff, I feel like I'm, you know, actually growing a repertoire of covers and really singing through stuff, finishing stuff. But yeah, that context of being in kind of a loop mode, or like I make TikToks a lot, like that's super loop oriented. Which is like fun in different ways, but I mean, I don't want it to limit me. Like, I feel like if I spent all my time making TikToks, I'm sure it'd be satisfying to some degree, but you have to push yourself to like make an entire song.
Sure.
It's much more satisfying, and I think like it is a different way of composing. You can get really stuck in just making loops and not really making something that stands on its own. And so a lot of these, like, I feel like they're not even recorded. They're not like, you know, there's not like the seminal version or something that I listen back to all the time. These are just complete ideas but since they are complete ideas, like I just have, I don't, you know, I can take them anywhere. I don't know. I feel like I nail some loops on TikTok, but you can't do anything with them. Like, you can listen back to them, but you can't replicate them. You
Yeah.
can't, like, I have voice memos that I think are great, and I can't replicate those sounds.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely live in that world too. Like my
Yeah.
phone is full of voice memos that are like really sick, like this little
Moments,
part, like
yeah.
a riff, a moment, or whatever. How many times? For me, the answer is going to be less than I would like. But how many times do you go back to those ideas, if
Yeah.
ever, and like, all right, this is an awesome idea, and I hate to see it die. So like, let's just sit down and force our way through it and try to make something of it.
I mean, I have, like, definitely over 1,000 voice memos of, like, random stuff.
Yeah.
So those are not songs. I write comparatively few songs, I think, in my opinion. I don't really know. I don't know what the standard is anymore, and also, like, the way that artists are making content has changed so drastically over the past 30 years. But I mean, I've probably written definitely under 50 songs in my, like, entire life of, like, complete things that I feel proud of. And then now I feel like I have maybe 12 songs that I like playing. I mean, it's small. I keep it really, really tight. So there are a lot of ideas that flow, but I try my best to, take stuff. But some musical moments, I mean, that is the reality. It's like some of those musical moments are just amazing, and you can't make a song out of them because they're just great loops. They're great TikToks. Like, there are some great TikToks out there, but they're not necessarily
Speaking
great
of
songs.
just like great moments, I mean, like all things fleeting, but like the whole, and like I really began to think about this as, through COVID and whatnot, as we are all relegated to our homes and live music came to like a screeching halt. Like those live moments that exist, the interaction between like an audience and a performer, those live moments that, exist just in that like blink of an eye, and they can't be replicated, and they're awesome because it was improvisational or what have you, and like the perfect combination of energy from the crowd and each band member. It's amazing that aspect of things, and then to have to completely shift to like now quarantine, not now luckily, but then like quarantine, talk about like such a drastic and abrupt change of context.
Yeah, huge. I mean, it's super weird. I feel like we're still kind of discovering what effect that has had on art or will have. We kind of like, after the big lockdown kind of period, kind of resumed making music as normal. And then like there were a bunch of shows, and, there wasn't a bunch of music about COVID. And if it was horrible. Like, but now, I mean, I'm like watching a Netflix movie, this French Netflix kind of original thing about COVID, and it's fascinating now to see that and like talk about that. So we still haven't even really discovered that, but I do think like, man, I mean, I in college, those were all my friends who were very moment people. Like, I think that's a jazz thing too, of like, you always make like a sound after people do stuff, or like, oh, those hits are great. I mean, we used to do all these hits when we played together in a kind of fusion context. We would do like crazy synchronized, like, we're going to do 13 hits of this chord, 13 and a half hits. So we do like, do this and then do an eighth note and then do this kind of synchronized rhythm. We were like super, super nerdy. All for those live moments that clicked in that would never be recorded. I don't think I have any like really representation of that. And I started getting to a point where I was like, I mean, there are all these hits that I used to play. I used to play Don't Need to Know You, that song, with those guys, and we would play it very differently. And when I went to record it, it was similar of like, those hits, you don't really need to put that in. They kind of come across as gimmicky in a recording. Or like, you can play through stuff. You can just strum through it, Yeah, man. It doesn't need to be so
to that
intense
point, it's like one of my biggest things about, like when you go see, a band you like or whatever band, and like the song they play is so loyal to the recording, it almost like peeves me. I'm like, sure, like we're all expecting that solo. Like, I get it. That's all. That's cool. But it's so much more awesome to give something to people that they can only see, audience rather, that they can only see in that moment. And isn't it more enjoyable for you also as a performer to like just wing it in a sense, like know
absolutely.
sort of where you're going, but like just improv and sort of feel it out? I think that is like the coolest part about it.
Yeah, I try and I overthink everything all the time in life in general, and I really try and not do that in music. Like as much that's and I feel successful to that to some degree of like just like I roll with bad takes. I mean, I recorded this song and like you know, stuff's not perfect, but it's kind of cool. The energy, I don't know, energy is huge, and
Yeah. I mean, music's a
Yeah.
great tool for that, to get out of the head and like.
yeah, it works, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But
for sure.
definitely, yeah, not. And so sometimes when you're like, oh, I have this one moment I need to nail because I heard it in some other song and I want to replicate that, it's like, no, whatever. You know, just let it happen. And that has to do with compromise, too, of like, this person added a chord that I don't usually have in that song. Well, it sounds badass, so keep it in. Like, you know, let that play happen, and sometimes it'll be successful, sometimes it won't.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of TikTok, like as I was scouring your social media, a lot of TikTok stuff, and I think I remember reading as like some sort of headline or whatever, it was something along the lines of like, you know, mental doodles or like musical doodles from my bedroom or something.
Yeah.
Which I thought perfectly sums it up. But talking about like the different creation and digestion of music and how they influence one another, like I think you might have just said like those are doodles that you just sort of share, but is there any intention behind the TikTok? And if so, it's like, because right now it's such a weird place of like, do I make an album, or do I just bump out singles as a musician?
Totally tricky.
Because that's what people want.
I mean, I started making TikToks because everybody was like, you should do it. And everybody's like, oh, you should make TikToks. That's what everybody's doing.
Yeah. And it's hard not to. You're like, I guess.
Yeah, you're like, screw it. But I find a decent amount of gratification in it as long as I don't get too into the app itself. Like, I don't want to spend all my time on TikTok, but I have, like, people who really genuinely interact with my content there, whereas I feel like on Instagram, people can be, or on other places on the internet, people are more used to not interacting or just like, well, they're just scrolling or they don't really care as much. But people on TikTok, like, have followed me, and the whole thing about TikTok that I try and create, and in general, and I'm not, like, viral at all, but, like, it's successful for me. Yeah, yet, you know. But even if not, like, I just want to make a world that people can kind of fall into, like a rabbit hole type of situation, because I know that I do that, especially on YouTube. That's like a big...
when you discover one person, like if I were to discover your music on TikTok, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, we see a bunch of stuff, let's do it.
Keep going. Yeah, and it's kind of cool. Like, I have a sensibility in a way that I play. Like, there's the chords that I like, and I pick those because I'm like, yeah, that's awesome, and it's kind of cool to see other people be like, yeah, I love that musical choice, or to resonate with it for different reasons, and to kind of bring people into that world. So even if it's like, I have like 200 followers right now, which is like from basically zero, which is like great, because those are people who actually care. It's like, I don't really mind. And in general, I mean, I just recorded this song. I was like, even if nobody, that's kind of a trope, but even if people don't really listen to this, like, I don't really care. Like, it was so satisfying to actually create this world that I've been engaging with and consuming for so long, to actually produce and like make things of what I think. It's like, it's awesome. So yeah, that's the kind of purpose it has. It's not really to be viral. I mean, that'd be great, I guess, but it's more like to make that world and to actually just, and also to get those ideas out. Sometimes I think those loops that you have, that we all have as like musicians, need to be gotten out and kind of thrown away. I mean,
like empty the trash bin.
Yeah, they're great. Like, it's awesome to like play. Oh man, this is so cool. This like weird diminished thing. But like, if you heard that in a song, it would just be so repetitive and freaking annoying, and it would ruin it for you. So just put it on TikTok, and you'll be done.
Just a way to like purge.
Yeah, purge those ideas.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
I mean, I'm sure there are all those moments. Like, there are plenty of stuff live that I've tried that has just not worked out at all. You know, all kinds of crazy stuff. But
so where I guess where can like people find you? Do you have anything on the horizon? All that fun stuff.
So I would say like the biggest center, and yeah, I don't really curate it well, but basically like my Instagram is kind of where everything operates out of. I don't have like a website or anything, but Instagram, and then TikTok if that kind of content is your thing, of just like guitar loops and kind of understanding more of what I do when I practice, or like make music, but certainly about like announcing shows, like announcing stuff that I'm putting out. That's all on Instagram, and then like generally, you know, I play in the city and like Manhattan usually. Sometimes I'll play in Brooklyn, but really like mostly Manhattan, kind of places like that, and then Spotify. Like, I would love, you know, once I put out this song and to really develop my Spotify page, because like I love, you know, hanging out on Spotify. I mean, I like listening to music, but like obviously like that's kind of, you know, I would prefer to have people check out my songs there
Yeah.
and stuff. So
I
in
think-
the next coming months, I would say.
I think there's so much room for Spotify. Like me and my friends have been talking about, like as far as a actual social platform, there's just I can't like quite name it, but like at the very least being able to like message other people.
Yeah.
I mean, but I feel like there's so much untapped social capabilities there.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as just real quick, you playing in New York, you know, and going back to our conversation, do you find that your music, do you find you prefer to play in some venues over others in terms of like general concept of like smaller spots versus larger versus this that?
Yeah, different things I like, different things I don't like. When you play in a bar has like a consistent clientele, you have an audience that is immediately faced with your music. You have to change what you're doing. Like, I played Red Lion at like 1 a.m. one time. 1 to 3:30 is the set on a Friday, and it was like packed the entire time of really, really young kids. And so there was no like, hey, check out this song in my bedroom. It was like, no, like play All Star by Smash Mouth and it's gonna be incredible. And that was awesome. I mean, it's fun. Like I like playing covers like that, and it's exhausting, but that's fun. And then I like playing smaller venues. The problem with smaller venues I've found is that it's so exposed. It's like there's so few people there. The only people there are going to be people you brought out. Basically, you would know everybody. Like somebody's like, I can't make it, or like somebody, I'm coming on my way. I feel like I don't have like a huge fan base outside of that, and so it can be not the vibe. Sometimes I like to test out things when there are random people there, and like.
Sure.
You know, I would throw out original songs when I was playing the bars and stuff, and people were like, "This is cool. You wrote that? Like, wow!" Like, I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of fun." So, pros and cons. Ideally, I would love to play mid to small size venues, but with people that I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, I love my friends. They're awesome. I love friends and family, and I mean, I've definitely gotten like random people like come and enjoy my music. But yeah, to kind of interact in a very just artistic way of just like here's what I have to offer as an artist. So
Yeah, I mean that's definitely like the litmus test is like
That's the dream,
seeing people who don't already know your music. Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, well, this has been real.
Yeah,
Great combo,
absolutely.
Man.
Wow,
I
it's
appreciate you
incredible.
coming out.
Yeah,
for sure.
Incredible conversation.
Yeah, man,
Thank
for
you
sure.
so much.
I'm sure
and,
you know.
this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Love to get out here. So
For sure.
awesome.
Hell yeah.